In the last lecture, we finished the glacial landforms of erosion. First, what is glaciation, then the glacial landforms, and now very small topic, that is again the glacial landforms, but in lowlands. That is the glacial landforms which are found on the lowlands. This is the next part of the topic, that is the glacial landforms which are found on the lowlands. Now in the lowlands, most of the landforms which are found, obviously this will be the landforms that are associated with deposition. Because in the highlands the glaciers like river will erode, and in the lowlands it will deposit the material. So we can call them as a major depositional landforms also. So, but there are two kinds of landforms which are not associated with deposition. Even in the lowlands we see the signs of erosion in this kind of a landforms. From the examination point of view, you remember this two kind of a landforms because they may give you which of the following glacial landforms are not depositional or not depositional landforms. The glacial landforms, they lie in the low-lying region where the major work of a glacier is deposition, but there are two kinds of a landforms which are not the depositional landforms. So here we will divide the landforms of glaciated lowlands into two types, that is erosional and depositional. This erosional landforms, we are going to study two kinds of landforms here. One is Roche Mountain, Roche Mountains, and the other one is crag and tail topography. Other one is the crag. So the two kinds, glacial landforms, crag and tail topography. While there are numerous depositional landforms, they are boulder till and clay, they are erratics, they are drumlins, they are eskers, and lastly they are outwash plains. Outwash plains. So the different kind of, these are the different kind of landforms. So you see here, the glacial tail landforms in the low-lying regions can be divided into erosional landforms and the depositional landforms. Crag and tail topography, Roche Mountains are the erosional landforms, while the major depositional landforms are boulder till and clay, erratics, eskers, and outwash plains. Now we'll study each and every landform in detail, that is what is a Roche Mountain, what is a crag and tail topography. Again I am saying, remember, these are erosional landforms. Now first, Roche Mountains. See, this is a hard rock structure which was lying in the low-lying region, which was there in the low-lying region, and when the glacier came in the lowlands, it eroded away, it came in the path. This hard rock structure or very, very resistant rock was lying in the path of a glacier, and therefore the glacier eroded this to give a peculiar shape to a topography known as an Roche Mountain. So it is a kind of an, we can say, resistant rock which was once upon a time lying in the middle. Why? Because it was made up of hard rock substance, resistant rock, it could not be eroded, and over the period of time the glacier has eroded this landform to give rise to a peculiar shape. How is the peculiar shape? This rock is made very smooth on one side while it is made very steep on the other side, and this it has got polish or it has got scratches on the surface. Now why it has got scratches on the surface? Because we know that the glaciated landform has one peculiar characteristic, that it is a scratched or striated surface. So it has got scratches on the surface, this kind of a landform. So a kind of a landform in which the glacier moves in this direction. So as a result of this, the glacier has polished or eroded by abrasion. It has eroded this, which side? It has eroded the upstream side, that is from here the glacier is moving. It has eroded this upstream side and made smooth and gentle by the process of abrasion, while this downstream side, this was the original rock. Now this original rock has been removed by the process of plucking. By the process of plucking away or by the process of removing, it has made this side very steep, gives rise to a peculiar kind of a mountain having such kind of a shape known as an Roche mountain. So the movement of a glacier is in this direction. This is upstream side. This is downstream side. This is a downstream side. This is an downstream side. So what is it? It is an individual rock, resistant rock, or what we say, it is an resistant residual rock. It is a resistant residual rock. The upstream side, how is the upstream side? Smooth and gentle. By which process? By the process of abrasion. How is the downstream side? The downstream side it is steep. Why it is steep? Because of the process of plucking. By the process of plucking, the downstream side has been made very, very steep by the process of plucking. Now, this entire surface is highly striated. Highly striated, or we can say it is highly scratched, gives rise to an Roche mountain kind of an topography. So this is the one kind of an erosional feature. It was an residual rock, means what we have done, what is residual rock? An individual rock which cannot be eroded for longer time. It is a residual rock. As a result, it has resulted into upstream side which is smooth and gentle, while the downstream side is steep. Why? Which processes affect here? It is known as plucking and abrasion. Now why it is known as Roche mountain? Because it resembles something. If you have seen in the tropical movies, if you have seen the documentaries on China, if you have seen the documentaries, if you live in the coastal side of Kerala, peninsular India, you will see that during the rainy season, the people who work in the farm, they get covered by some kind of they do not use umbrella, because using an umbrella will not give them both hands free. It engages one of the hands. So they use something made up of grass to cover their process. Similarly, during the France, in the older times, sheep's skin was used to cover the people. And because it resembles the skin of a ship, it is known as an Roche mountain. So this is one kind of an topography, Roche mountain. It is an resistant residual rock which resembles, in fact you can note this time, which resembles sheepskin wig. It resembles wig, sheepskin wig. Now the similar kind of a topography, it is again an erosional topography, is known as an crag and tail topography. It is known as a crag and tail topography. See, there are two terms now associated with this. One is crag and the other is tail. That means there is one kind of an rock which is very resistant and therefore it cannot be removed, and therefore the name is given as a crag. While this individual rock will protect the other side from getting eroded away. Why? Because it serves as a strong barrier against a glacier. As a result, the glacier will deposit the sediments, giving rise to a gentle slope known as a tail. Now look here how it will. Suppose if this is an individual rock which cannot be eroded away by a glacier. Such an individual rock is known as a crag. So what is this? Again, this is an resistant rock which could not be eroded away by the glacier. And the glacier then, while moving, the glacier is moving in this direction. This is the movement of a glacier. It cannot erode the individual rock, and after that the glacier moves downwards. While moving downwards, it starts depositing the sediments which are along the side of an individual rock. That is due to the downward movement of an glacier. So as a result, it gives rise to a gentle kind of an topography. Here the sediments are deposited. The sediments are deposited here. So it has resulted into deposition of sediments here and the deposition of the sediments on the other side. So such kind of a topography is known as an crag and tail topography. What is the crag here? The individual resistant rock which has not been eroded is known as a crag. This rock is crag. While what is a tail? The gently sloping deposition of the sediments on the downstream side is known as a tail kind of an topography. So this is an crag and tail. And this is the direction of ice movement. This is upstream side. This is the downstream side. Upstream side and the downstream side. So, what can we conclude? Then crag is a mass of hard rock. Hard resistant rock. Crag is a mass of hard and resistant rock. and the tail is a gentle region. Now you compare this with one topic which we have done just before this, that is the Roche Mountain. What is the difference between Roche Mountain and the crag and tail topography, only from the point of view of as a general studies or as a normal observer? Rewind your lecture if you want. Roche Mountain, the upstream side is gentle, while the downstream side is steep in the Roche Mountain. Here exactly opposite. In the crag and tail topography, the upstream side is extremely steep, while the downstream side is having a gentle tail. So what is the crag and tail topography? An individual resistant rock which protects the downstream side from getting eroded away results into crag and tail topography whose upstream side is steep while the downstream side is gentle, having eroded rock debris. Now how it is? There is a famous castle which is located over here, the Castle of England, and the Royal Highway which the Queen of England uses is located on this tail. So the crag and tail topography has such kind of an use. Or we can say not exactly, but our President House is also located on some kind of an hill. Though it is not a crag and tail topography, but it will have similar effect had India been an glaciated region. So what is a crag and tail topography? Crag is a mass of hard rock which protects the gentle tail from getting eroded. So it protects the gentle tail from getting eroded away. Now the next kind of depositional landforms are the next kind is the depositional landforms. The first kind of a depositional landform is boulder till and glacial clay. Boulder till, what you mean by boulder till and what is glacier clay? See, the glacier, when it is coming down, it is having so great erosive power that it erodes all the parts of it erodes all the rock surfaces, it grinds all the rock surfaces, unlike water which can make its original way. It can bend, it is flexible, it meanders. Water meanders and water does not have that much erosional capacity. The glacier is a mass of river of solid hard rock substance. Now when it is coming down, it takes away everything what comes in the path. We have done the truncated spurs also. And when it comes down, whatever the sediments are there, they rub against the solid ice and they get converted into very, very clay-like substances. They can get converted into very fine sediments known as glacial clay. While some of the rocks here, unlike water, the glacial does not engage in sorting. Sorting means heavier rocks are deposited first, then the next rock, then the next rock. This is not what the glacier does. If you are stuck in the glacier, you cannot catch the hold of any house or any branch, because the glacier will take away the branch also and the person also if the one is stuck in the glacier. So there is no sorting in the glacier. So such kind of sediments are known as boulder clay and glacial till. So what are this? The unsorted glacier. These are unsorted glacial deposits. Unsorted glacial deposits. Resulting into formation of glacial plains, or drift plains, or boulder clay plains. Boulder clay plains. So these are unsorted glacial deposits. Now look here from the exam point of view where you have to focus. First you have to focus these are unsorted. Why we have to focus these are unsorted? Because water engages in sorting. Wind does not have that much erosive power that it will carry very, very large sediments. It is only the glacier which is having the so much erosive power. So water engages in sorting. Glacial does not do sorting. These are unsorted glacial deposits resulting into formation of a glacial plains. What are the plains made by water? Known as alluvial plains. The glacial plains are also known as a drift plains, or they are also known as an boulder clay plains. Now, if the question is in the examination, which of the following are associated with the glaciated topography? One option is truncated spurs, the second option is alluvial plains, third option is alluvial fans, fourth option is drift plains. So out of which of the, for example here, I will write the question, which is associated with glacial topography. A. Truncated spurs, B. Alluvial fans, 3. C. V-shaped valleys, D. Drift plains. So which of the following are associated with glaciated topography? Truncated spurs, are they associated with the glaciated topography? Yes, they are associated. Why? Because the alluvial, that is the water topography, is known as interlocked spurs. Truncated. Alluvial fans, are they associated with glaciated topography? Have we done something like alluvial fans? No. Only water. V-shaped valleys? No. U-shaped valleys, glaciated topography. Drift plains. Now why I am giving you this example? Because in the examination, they won't be asking most probably that glacial plains, are they associated with the glaciated topography? No, it becomes very obvious. So what is the other name for the glaciated plains? Are drift plains. So are they or boulder clay plains? Are they associated with the glaciated topography? Yes, they are associated. So your answer becomes A and D. These are the two features which are associated with the glaciated topography. What are the boulder till and glacial clay? They are unsorted glacial deposits resulting into formation of drift plains or boulder clay plains. Now you consider the second kind of you consider a situation where on the ground surface a large amount of an glacier, a very big glacier is flowing on the ground surface. Now this glacier, when it is flowing, it consists of different kinds of rocks. Suppose these are the different rocks which are present in the glacier. Which are present inside the glacier. So we are taking this view which is inside the glacier. Now the glacier, because they are deep inside the glacier, they are pressed by the force of a glacier, by the pressure of a glacier, and then they get stuck to each other. Like a glue, they get stuck to each other. Now when the glacier melts, these rocks, the red colors are the rocks which are present in the glacier. They remain after the melting of the glacier. When the glacier will melt away, they will be found on the surface as they were present inside the glacier. Means they will be found in the similar positions on the ground surface. They will be found in such kind of positions. Now obviously these rocks will be made up of different composition from this ground surface. Why? Because these rocks belong to some kind of a landform, that is the higher landforms. They have been eroded, brought and deposited by the glacier. Now they are exposed due to the melting up of the glacier. Had the glacier not melt, they would not have been exposed. Now the second thing is, these rocks, is it possible that there is a small rock, extremely small rock, and then very big rock on the top. Similarly here, small rock below and then big rock on the top. It is not possible to balance, but in the glaciated topography, such kind of structures are seen. And so it is bit irritating for us. That is for the observer, that how could such formations be possible, that is a small rock and the big rock, or a big rock below, and as if somebody has come and put the rock for some kind of a decoration, we can say. Such kind of a topography are known as erratics. So what are these erratics? These are the rocks. These are rocks of various sizes. Transported by the glacier. Glaciers, transported by the glaciers and left stranded in strange positions because of melting of the ice. Because of melting of ice. Because of the melting of the ice. So the rocks of various sizes transported by the glacier and left stranded. Sorry, I'm very sorry. Left stranded in strange positions because of the melting up of the ice. Why strange positions? As I have told you, if this is a ground surface, you will find the rocks like this. Or it may be like this. Or it may be so, as if they are been placed in different positions. Because of their strange positions, these are also known as as if somebody has picked and put this rock here, so somebody has placed them. They are also known as perched blocks. Also known as perched blocks. Because of their strange positions, these are also known as perched blocks. They are composed of totally different materials. Totally different materials from the area, from those from the materials of the region where they are found. So these are known as erratics. Various sizes transported by the glaciers. What boulders of various sizes transported by the glaciers? Known as perched blocks, known as erratics. The next kind of topography in the depositional landform is again a very interesting topography. These are known as drumlins. These are known as drumlins. Now, how are these drumlins? See, these are individual mountains. Why? How the drumlins are formed? Maybe some kind of somewhere the resistant rock, it has not been eroded, so it serves as some kind of a, you can say, barrier to the movement of a glacier. Then the movement of the glacier becomes slow, it deposits, resulting into formation of an mountain known as drumlin. Not going into detail because we are focusing only on the general studies here, and this topic, as I told you, is more important for the preliminary point of view rather than from the mains point of view. Obviously the question can be, because of the new syllabus, the question can be explain the different kinds of an glaciated topography or the changes in the glaciated topography as per the ages or the glaciated topography of a lowlands, or the simply write and short note on the drumlin also they can ask, but more focus is preliminary examination. That is why, because it is important for both prelims and mains, we are taking it in this topic, because the prelims section is totally separate, that is only the world geography part. Now, what are these drumlins? These are again mountains which are of this shape. These are the groups of mountains which are having such kind of an shape. What is the shape? They are steep on one side while they are elongated on the other side. So they are steep on one side, they are elongated on the other side. Now because of such kind of a topography, that is being steep on one side while being elongated on the other side, they are also known as whale back rocks or whale back mountains. Why? Because the back of a whale is also similar like this, that it is steep on one side, it gets elongated, and then it is gentle on the other side. So what are these drumlins? These are swamps or the groups of oval elongated whale back mountains. Whale back mountains made from boulder clay. Made from boulder clay, made from the boulder clay. The upstream side or the on side is steep, while the downstream side is elongated. And because they are, see how they are found? They are found generally in the groups. So these mountains will be found somewhere like this. In a particular region, they will be found in the groups, and if you look from the top, this will look like a tray which is carrying numerous eggs. So it is also known as a basket of an egg topography. Also known as an basket of egg topography. So the group of oval, what are the keywords here? Oval, elongated, whale-back mountains which are made from boulder clay, having upstream side which is steep, while the downstream side which is elongated are known as an drumlins. So what are these drumlins made from? These are made from boulder clay. Because they are found in the groups, they are also known as a basket of egg topography. These are also known as a basket of an egg topography. Now the next kind of an landforms are known as an eskers. See, when the glacier then starts melting, it is the water how the ice will obviously be converted into water, and the water then flows in. Once the water starts, then it flows in which path? Water, does it flow straight or in a meandering path? It will flow in a meandering way. And when the water flows in a meandering way, it will carry large amount of sediments with it, and over the period of time, such sediments, that is because the glacier is bringing lot amount of sediments, and when the glacier ice starts melting, it gets converted into water and it starts flowing in a meandering way. Over the period of time, in the regions which had seen glacier long ago, and after the melting of the ice glacier and after passing away of the water, the sediments in the water are deposited in the form of narrow ridges which have sinus or meandering path. Such kind of a long, narrow, meandering mountains or hills are known as an eskers. See, very, very interesting topography. Have we seen how our mountains are generally straight. But if you see in the glaciated regions, the mountains are as if they are meandering, they are flowing, going like a snake. They are taking sinus routes. Why it is this? Because initially glacier brought large amount of sediments, then glacier started melting once the glacier started melting, the water which was flowing took the sand and gravel along with it. Over the period, water has evaporated, and what is remained is only sand and gravel. That is the sand and small particles. These are known as an eskers. So, how are these eskers? These are long, narrow, sinus. These are long, narrow, sinus ridges made from sand and gravel. Made from sand and gravel. Why they are sinus? Why sinus? Because these are the sites, these are former or older sites These are former or older sites of melting of glaciers. They are former or older sites of melting of glaciers. So the mountains which I cannot show you here, I'll try. So the mountains which are sinus in nature, that is, these are the eskers, that is, they are sinus in nature. While the other kind of a topography which we did was drumlins, elongated whaleback hummocks. So such kind of narrow meandering ridges are known as eskers. See, this kind of a topography, as I told you, such topographies are hard to imagine because because we live in the tropical region and we have not seen such kind of a topography. So at the end of this entire geomorphology, I will put a short slide show which will revise the geomorphology in a faster way along with the along with the slides of how do the landforms look like, so that you will have a complete idea. Just try to imagine now that how are this? These are long, narrow and the sinuous ridges, which are made from sand and gravel. So what you have to remember are long, narrow, sinuous ridges made from sand and gravel. Drumlin, it is made from boulder clay. Drumlin boulder. Esker, sand and gravel. ESGDB. Drumlin is boulder made from boulder. Eskers are made from sand and gravel. This is what you remember from the examination point of view. Now the last kind of unglaciated deposits are depositional landforms are outwash plains. Outwash plains. Now what does the word outwash plains means? These are the sites which now are dominated, that these are the last sites of glacial deposition, and the glacier has been melted and it has resulted into formation of ice. Formation of water. The glacier has been melted into water. Now we know one thing, the glaciated topography is dominated by, is one of the peculiar characteristics of glaciated topography is scratching on the surface. Now here also this area was scratched. Now after the melting of the ice, that these scratches or the grooves which are formed on the surface of the earth are filled with water. What we call them as in lakes. So outwash plains, obviously they will be filled by lakes. So what are these outwash plains? The first thing you have to remember is these are fluvio-glacial deposits. These are fluvio-glacial deposits. Now fluvio-glacial deposits. What do you mean by fluvio? It means water and glacial means ice. That means here there is a formation of water. Water means it is an end stage of a glacier when the glacier comes in the lowland region and the temperature becomes high, and therefore there is a melting of a glacier. Now it is a fluvio-glacial deposits. Now whenever the water comes, what the water will do? Does it have so much eroding power like a glacier? No. So it will engage in salting and redeposition. So these are areas. So what you have to remember, these are the areas where there is a salting. Where there is a, due to presence of water, there is salting and redeposition. There is a sorting and redeposition of materials. To form. What do they form? They form cames. To form cames. What are these cames? To form cames, which are small rounded hills. And second, to form kettle lakes. to form kettle lakes. To form kettle lakes. That is, these are lakes in the outwash plains. Lakes in the outwash plains. Now again, you remember the previous lecture. We did three kinds of lakes in the glacier. Tarn Lake. Where did the Tarn Lake was present? In the Sark region or in the Kori. That is at the topmost. Then in the U-shaped valley, there was a finger or ribbon lake. And the Kettle Lake is present in the outwash plains. That is, these are the three different kinds of lakes. So the outwash plains are the regions of where there is a fluvio-glacial deposits, and due to water there is a salting and redeposition of the materials to form cames, which are small rounded hills, and the lakes, which are known as the kettle lakes, giving rise to, it is known as knob and kettle topography. It's known as a knob and kettle topography. That is knob and tea kettle topography. Why? Because they will look somewhat like this. A rounded hill, then an depression. A rounded hill and then an depression. Through which, that is the kettle lake and the rounded hill. Kettle lake. So it looks like a knob and a kettle topography. Or to show you, it will look somewhat like this. There will be a knob, that is small rounded hill, and then afterwards there will be depression in the ground to give rise to an so this is a came and this is kettle lake. So it gives rise to knob and kettle topography. Why knob and kettle? Just it looks like a teapot. So that is why knob and kettle topography. So this was the last kind of a landform, that is outwash plains. Now what you have to remember, outwash plains are the result of fluvio-glacial deposits, and not just glacial deposits, but they are the result of both fluvial and glacial deposits. With this we end our glaciated topography, and with this we end our geomorphology. One thing, just before coming to economic geography, just one for your thought process, what are the, which kind of which will be the dominant form of electricity generation in the glaciated region? Will it be thermal energy? Will it be hydroelectric energy? Hydroelectric energy. Why? Because too much high availability of water, too much high availability of waterfalls, hanging valleys, U-shaped valleys, truncated spurs. So obviously after the melting of glacier, such glaciers now they join the main valley through waterfall. So which regions of the world will be having highest potential for waterfall development? Obviously the higher latitude regions. What are the countries? Canada, Norway. So Sweden, these are the regions of high waterfall development. So we will come to that while doing the economic geography, and also while doing the each and every continents separately. Okay. Now the next topic which we'll be starting is the climatology. Interesting topic, and also you can relate it more easily. So till that time, revise and write, solve the past year questions of both mains examination and the preliminary examination using our class notes, and try writing answers for the mains and try answering the preliminary questions. And I can guarantee you that most of the questions will be covered in this series of the lecture of geomorphology. Do all the past year questions of geomorphology. Till the time, I will be uploading some notes also, so you can take the look at the notes also. Okay, so wish you very best till the time we meet for climatology. Thank you very much.